critical, because if someone were not to roll, or if one of us had a problem in the roll, the other guy would never know it until we hit. Everything we do in flying the show is all done visually. There's checkpoints and timing throughout the city. You find checkpoints that say a mile, 2 miles, 3 miles. Even though the F-18 is one of the most state-of-the-art airplanes in the world with high-speed computers, we fly the air show strictly by eyeballs and a little stopwatch. But it's not even digital, sweet secondhand. How long can you do so many practice? Between the solo pilots, it's extremely critical that they be real tight. And in the case of John and I, we would do everything together. I mean, we live in the hotel 2 rooms apart. And we get up together. We work out together every day. We go running. We go get breakfast together. We drive into work together, and we brief. We fly together. We eat dinner together. Whenever we go out socially, normally, we'll go together. We try to do everything together. Solo program, it's all timing. Timing that you can't force upon someone. You have to kind of get it by being so close with that person, like you are with a real close friend, or like a husband would be with his wife. So it's a very close bond between the two guys. I'm closer to Thumper in thinking. He knows me better, and I know him better than anybody.
For the pilots, every air show is more than just 45 minutes of spectacular flying. It's also devotion to safety and an eye for detail. Before each and every flight, the team meets behind closed doors for a sort of ritual that might seem a little strange to the uninitiated. Although it sometimes might resemble a seance, the pilots know that this pre-flight briefing demands just as much concentration as the flight itself.
The briefing process is critical as well. I have a spiel, I call it, of verbiage, and all the other guys have things they need to say during the flight as well. But in the briefing process, we'll cover some administrative details, some safety details, some aircraft limitations that we like to review every time we brief, the limitations and emergency procedures, we review them every time we brief. And then we get into the meat of it as far as what's going to happen out there. And it's about a 10 or 15 minute recitation of what I'm going to be saying in the air.
And you go through each maneuver, and if you notice the boss, when we're all together, he would talk some maneuvers just in their name, and then he would go through certain calls.
But it's a recitation of the words so that each pilot can hear those words. So, for example, I'll say, okay, we're parked in reverse order for a remote reverse walkdown. Come up on 8, 9, and 18, take off checks from the shocks. There'll be a left 90 out of the shocks and go wing and clear parking. We'll take the runway for the cover wagon. When Goose is ready to go 16, count 2, we'll go 16, count 2. We'll be clear for takeoff with a wind check. Check the parking brakes off. Maneuvers for the diamond, a diamond burner loop for the right turn. Followed by Gucci's dirty roll on takeoff. Thumper's low transition, high performance climb to the split S. And while I'm saying those things, those are what they're going to hear on the radio. Some of the guys will close their eyes and they'll visualize what they're, and some of them move their hands a little bit. They'll visualize what they're going to be seeing out there while that's occurring. It's like going out and warming up before you you're warming up your arm a little bit, but they warm up their minds.
Everybody is very attuned to the boss and what he's saying, and he makes those calls in the brief just like he'd make them in the flight.
Although the boss speaks a little faster, the rhythm and timing lapse between his calls is proportional, so the pilots get the same sense of timing in the brief as they will once they're in the air.
Now, burners ready now. Power set. Gear. All-wheel drive. There we go. A little more. Oh. Burners ready now. Easing the pull. Easing power. Easing more power. Stand by the boards. Boards. Commas up. Smoke off. Coming right. Wings are level. Smoke off. Blowing out. A little more. and pull. Easing power. More power. Step by the bars.
It is almost a church-going atmosphere in there. It's very quiet.
Easing power. Easing more power. Commas, pull. Easing the pull. Rolling out. To the left. A little pull.
Aerial photographs of the show site help pilots complete the visualization process.
I've flown the air show before I ever go out there. I fly it in my mind. I know what my 3-mile checkpoint is. I know what my 2-mile checkpoint is. I know where I expect to see comfort. I know what the next maneuver is, and I actually move my wrist and can fly the show. It's good concentration is what you need to get focused. Then you go out there and you have to do it.
After every flight, the team also goes through a critical debriefing process, which they consider as important as the actual flight itself. They hash out what worked, what didn't, and no punches are pulled.
We are wide open as we can possibly be in criticism, and we want to become our own worst critics.
We debrief everything. I'll tell you how specific it gets. We even debrief the march to our airplanes and the march back. So, and you get picked on for every little thing. And most of us haven't marched in 10 years of being in the Navy, so they get very, very specific.
The debriefing process takes probably twice as long as the flight took itself. Rank doesn't come into play. Experience levels, those are good, but you have to set those aside when the criticism starts to come, because that's the only way you're going to learn a maneuver, and that's the only way you're going to get to where the maneuver looks good and it's safe.
I think I was a little bit late dropping you guys off. We're a little low more on the crowd. But other than that, smooth air was nice. There was a little bumpy in spots, but glad we weren't flying. Glad to be here. But overall, I'm glad we weren't flying too. Turned out nice. And I had a couple safeties on the left echelon flat path coming over. I didn't acknowledge the go diamond call. Just concentrating on where I was going and how quick my movement was going to be. And I was 20 feet low in the low brake cross, 280 feet, and I can fix all those things. So glad to be here.
All these things are called safety, the things that were safety problems or violations from our standards.
I had safety coming back in. For some reason, I thought we were going right 45 to the park. And then I even called turning left when we were turning right. So it went pretty good for me up until we got there. I was just happy to be here and glad to be here.
We have a term that we use, glad to be here. And the term is unpatterning an average pilot, literally. And I'm no kidding, just lucky enough to be in the blues. And that's where that term comes from. The boss, hey, I'm glad to be here. Because there's guys out in Mediterranean Sea tonight, out in the Persian Gulf, laying on a ship at night, taking care of us. And so I kind of carry a little bit of the fleet with me, so guys can walk around and say, hey, look, it's the Blue Angels, they represent us.
We have really good tapes, videotapes we look at, and the tape can be stopped, it can be reversed, slowed, played back, and we do a lot of that, and that's how we get toward the levels of performance that we want. We have 2 critiquers on the ground that look at the maneuvers and tell us their impressions basically from where the maneuvers were placed and how it looked to them.
You guys did a good job with that placement. Looked really well today for the conditions. Like here,
Good nice one-plane look at 47 point, and it okay to hold off.
When we make these mistakes and we fess up to them, and we do it every time we fly, it's just an extremely important aspect of what we do. What we do after we said it is, I made this mistake and I'll fix it. You always say that you're going to fix it. And what that leaves the rest of us with a feeling is that you've recognized your mistake and you're going to take corrective action not to let it happen again. So it doesn't drop our confidence level in another person in the formation.
If you don't take it seriously and don't debrief, if you ever get complacent, you're going to kill yourself or you're going to kill somebody else. Now, you got to be able to learn each and every time you go flying, because there's never been the perfect flight demonstration yet that the Blues have ever put on. So we're always looking to perfect it.
All that preparation continues to pay off.